Divine Emperor of Death. Chapter 14, Hatred. Davis possessed an ugly expression on his face. He turned over, only to see his little past self, Tianlong, getting beaten up again by a belt. Davis tried attacking again and again, but it was of no use. "Stop hitting!" Davis shouted with an enraged expression on his face. He stood in front of Tianlong and shielded him, but it was of no use again. The belt passed through him and made contact with Tianlong's face. Slap! Argh! Help! Please help me! Anyone! The little Tianlong begged loudly. "You're pretty funny, this is my private mansion, and no one dares to come in without my permission." "Oh? The guards at the gate? They'll pretty much turn a blind eye to whatever is happening here, after all, they have their petty lives to live." Ha 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 ha. The middle-aged man laughed again, clearly enjoying the feeling of cornering a child. He smirked and pointed at himself with his right thumb finger. "I am called Twizer, but you can only call me father. Hee, people call me the former because they think I'm wise and twisted." "Mister, please leave me alone," Tianlong begged again in a feeble tone as he felt out of breath. Bang! "Call me father." The beatings kept increasing while Tianlong refused to give up. Pub Future ads. As an orphan who grew up in the slums, he had never seen his father and mother. He had a special place for his father and mother in his heart. As a child, he had wished many times that his father and mother would come to pick him up from the slums. But one day, he was confronted by a middle-aged man who claimed to know his parents. Being excited at the prospect of finding his parents, he naively followed the middle-aged man back to an unknown place, a private mansion, only to be terrorized and tortured. After 15 minutes, which seemed like a long period to both Tianlong and Davis, the little Tianlong gave up and started calling that middle-aged man father. But to Davis, it was all familiar. What is going to happen, what he tried to forget. It was all shown in front of him. His hatred soared while looking at Twizer. He couldn't wait to kill him once more. This man was once a scar in his life. Good. Ho ho, and you're a dog, right? There's something you are missing, Ah yes, the collar. Wait obediently, this room is your cage. I'll go get the collar. Twizer smirked with a twisted smile and went out of the room. He didn't even bother locking the door. Davis's hatred once again soared, hearing that even though he knew what kind of torture would follow after this day. However, he could only watch what was happening helplessly. Davis tried to follow Twizer out of the room while Tianlong was bruised with injuries lying down with lifeless eyes. Just when Davis was 10 meters away from the little Tianlong, a strange force kept him from leaving him. From this, Davis knew he had to stay with Tianlong, but he didn't know for who knows how long. Twizer came back with a collar in his hands. He had a degenerated smile on his face. "Come here, mutt, let me make you wear this." Tianlong didn't move. Ads by Pub Future. Pub Future ads. "If you don't crawl up to daddy right now, you'll be receiving my love even more." Tianlong shuddered. He mindlessly crawled in front of Twizer and put his head down. "Haha, very good, that's my boy." Tianlong now had a collar on his neck. His eyes were dull, and he paid no heed to the laughing idiot in front of him. "Bastard! I'll kill you!" Davis could no longer control his emotions and attacked Twizer again, but as expected, it was of no use. A year passed. In the beginning, Davis had no way of making contact with someone in this world and still didn't. The little Tianlong was shut inside the mansion, having no way to leave. Every week, he would be tortured until he was left half alive. At first, Tianlong was only pleading not to be beaten or tortured. After a month, he started enduring it without shouting, but that just seemed to make Twizer more excited, so he had no choice but to shout miserably to appease him. Davis looked at the scene and knew that he had been rather fooled at that time as he was a naive child, and only now when he saw this scene, did it become clear that reverse psychology was used on him. Perhaps, he should have continued not to let out a whimper of pain, but that also might have been deadly, as he might lose the status of dog and be shot to be buried under the grassy yard outside. Davis bit his lips in frustration and anger. This mansion was none other than a devil's entertainment mansion. Thoughts of escape swirled inside Tianlong's head, but he had no way as he was collared. The collar's rope was long and tied to the center of the room. He had no way even to jump out of the window. Explore 36 BHK luxury residences with retail, clubhouse, more. 3 BHK homes with wide sun decks at the arena, Hiranandani, Panvel. 2 BHK homes with wide sun decks at the arena, Hiranandani, Panvel. Davis's heart was in pain every time he watched himself get tortured. It eventually turned into indifference. He kept reminding himself that this was just an illusion. After 5 months, the small Tianlong had enough of it. Finally, thoughts of killing Twizer filled his mind. He started attacking Twizer by himself, but Twizer became excited when he saw his pet filled with killing intent try to kill him. The result was Tianlong was full of injuries again without any suspense. His first counterattack ended up in failure. He now learned that Twizer was very strong, personally. Davis knew what was going to happen, as he and Tianlong was the same. He was full of hatred for Twizer at that point, even now. The only thing he can be thankful for was that he knew that the little Tianlong wasn't going to be sexually abused. This madman, Twizer, was just a maniac who will get excited just by hitting people, but he presently knew for what reason he got captured by this madman. However, the poor little Tianlong of yonder didn't know why he was being subjected to this kind of torture. His pure soul that was without a blemish began to be painted in hate for the world. After that year ended, Twizer knew that Tianlong wasn't going to last long if he keeps this up. As a distraction, Twizer bought him various toys, books, even a PC. And it worked. The little Tianlong became absorbed in those while the hate was growing inside him reduced, or else even he knew that he was going to break. After a year, the situation did not change much. Tianlong even had thoughts of contacting someone from the internet to save him after getting deeply familiar with the PC, but he dropped that idea as soon as he remembered Twizer saying something with a smile that was not a smile. If you tried to contact someone through anything, then just remember that it won't take long for you and that someone to die. Tianlong knew that he wasn't kidding and didn't dare to try contacting someone ever again. 3 years had passed. Tianlong became 15 years old, becoming a teen. He grew to be detached from this world. He had an indifferent expression on his face all the time. His body remained full of scars except for his face. Tianlong gained various knowledge from the internet. He started watching anything that is concerned with entertainment, fantasy, something that helped him feel alive in this hellhole. Davis was still here, experiencing the whole thing again. After some time from the beginning, he and Tianlong had already started to form a connection intrinsically. Every time Tianlong felt pain or amused, he would feel it too. Chapter 15, Past. Twizer was no longer satisfied with keeping him tied up. He removed the collar and provoked Tianlong to escape. Each time Tianlong tried to escape, even with the knowledge he gained from the internet, he was beaten up miserably and brought back like a beaten-up dog. Twizer looked ecstatic every time, as if he pretty much enjoyed it like a hunt. In fact, from time to time, he would encourage Tianlong to escape. After multiple tries of failed attempts to escape, Tianlong realized it was just all lies and traps. 4 years eventually passed. Tianlong was sitting beside the PC. "Mutt, it's time," a voice could be heard outside the door. Twizer came into the room and started beating him up again as if it was a routine for him. "How come this idiot never gets tired of beating me up? Is it like masturbation for him?" Tianlong thought nonchalantly. He was getting beaten up, but he couldn't give a fuck anymore. Getting beaten up is just pretty much a normal routine for him now. Davis was now connected more with Tianlong's emotions, not just pain. It encroached on him, and little by little, He gradually forgot what he came here for and felt what Tianlong felt. In his eyes, there was only killing intent. Just like Tianlong, he started hating this world. He blamed every person in this world. After beating him up, Twizer glanced at the PC. Ha ha ha, Xiangxia. Eastern fantasy? You got addicted to those fantasies? Tianlong just kept quiet. Twizer smiled as if he suddenly got an idea. Pub future ads. Do you want to go to a fantasy world? Twizer asked mysteriously. There was finally a movement in Tianlong's eyes. He looked back at Twizer but moved his gaze away. Tianlong instantly had a realization that he was being played with, but he felt any world other than this might be better. Deep in his eyes, the feeling of wanting to escape this hellhole existed within him after all. It was just that he didn't dare to show after numerous failed attempts. Twizer knew that he had successfully got his attention. He quickly said, "Let me tell you something good." Twizer was sure that his plan would work. Have you heard about the transmigration stone? Hehe, you probably haven't. I have used my sources to discover about this just recently. Davis, who was by the side like a bystander, had a sudden look of confusion. He thought he remembered something but chose not to dwell on it. Twizer took out the world map, which specifically marked 2 places. Hehe, see those marks? One is the transmigration stone while the other is the formation which connects to another world. Twizer had a profound smile on his face. Tianlong looked at him dubiously. Oh come on, when have I ever lied to you? True, Twizer hasn't lied a single time except that he claimed to know his parents. However, that too was, in a sense, true. All you have to do is gather the transmigration stone and make your way to the formation which is secretly protected by a temple. I'll even give up this opportunity to you. Twizer smiled caringly, but his face changed instantly into an evil smile. But do you think you can get away from me? Tianlong acted like he had profound thoughts. He knew he'd be courting death if he went out. Twizer thought he had successfully riled up Tianlong into escaping. Tianlong had stopped escaping a long time ago, after all. Ads by Pub Future. Pub Future ads. After 6 months, Tianlong still showed no signs of escaping. This made Twizer very angry that he started thrashing him around like a ball. Tianlong was even more made to endure severe beatings while the killing intent in his eyes overflowed. Twizer could see that, and it even excited him up more. This endless routine made Tianlong painfully aware that, perhaps, his life was just going to end like this. Another 6 months passed anew. At dawn, Tianlong was staring outside the window. He wished he could just escape this hell but didn't dare to do so. Just as Tianlong was staring outside, he saw a book falling from the sky. He was shocked and, at the same time, couldn't believe his eyes. He was almost sure that he started to hallucinate. He shook his head, rubbed his eyes, but he could still see it. The book came falling from the sky and fell behind a tree that was just nearby in the yard, not far from the window. Tianlong was pretty sure that he was hallucinating, but since it fell behind the tree from his viewpoint, he had no way to confirm other than going there himself. He felt a strong sense of curiosity, and his instincts were telling him to go check it out. This was the only mysterious event in his monotonous life that piqued his interest to sky-high levels. What's the worst thing that's going to happen if I get found by the guards? Just beatings, and Twizer knowing about this, Tianlong consoled himself. He jumped out of the window and climbed down. Fortunately, no guard saw him jumping out of the mansion. Hence, they didn't instantly come for him. Tianlong hadn't tried escaping for a long time, which made the guards relax. The only guards who were active at this time were at the gates. In actuality, Twizer removed the guards who were monitoring Tianlong's window, all in the hopes so that his pet dog might try to escape one day. Explore 36 BHK luxury residences with retail, clubhouse, more. 2 BHK homes with wide sun decks at the arena, here in Andhani, Panvel. Is infertility holding you back? Tianlong moved swiftly but quietly to the tree. When he arrived behind the tree, he was shocked to see a book lying down there. Death book? The moment Tianlong saw the front cover, he immediately picked it up and hid it in his shirt. He swiftly returned to his room. He knew the CCTV recorded his movements from the window, but he didn't care. Everyone will just think he gave up and went back. In his room, Tianlong checked the book. The book was scribbled with a bunch of rules, and he felt it was pretty interesting. Without much to do other than using the PC, he decided to try it out on Twizer when he came back. In a sense, he was hoping it would work, and his current deranged mentality believed it to be the case. Davis, who was watching all this as he wished to kill Twizer, slowly disintegrated. After 3 days of painstakingly waiting, Tianlong could hear those hateful footsteps approaching him outside the door. He immediately wrote Twizer's name in the book and hid it somewhere behind his PC, and he started counting. 10. The door opened, and Twizer came walking in with a swagger. "Mutt, I heard that you tried to escape but gave up?" Tianlong just smiled. 20. You admit? Very well, I'll just make this punishment light. Cracking sounds came from Twizer's fist as he flexed. 30. Twizer swung his fists and started beating him up. Tianlong just kept smiling at him like a fool, which made Twizer feel uncomfortable for some reason. Did this kid break down? Or is he planning something? Just bring it on. Twizer thought with a grin. 40-40 to 34. Tianlong suddenly started chanting. What the hell are you counting? The number of punches? The chant made Twizer even more uncomfortable. 45. Die, bastard! Twizer's heart skipped a beat. He was shocked by his pet's sudden outburst. After a moment of silence, he regained his bearings. Die? And how are you going to make me die? Mutt? Chapter 16, Evil Intentions. Twizer cruelly abused down Tianlong with his rapidly raining fists that boomed with each punch. It didn't work. Tianlong switched to his lifeless self again. He felt like he no longer had any chances of escape from the clutches of Twizer. He put all his hopes into that book and had expected too much from it. He had fallen into despair again. In these 10 years, he didn't know how many times he fell into despair only to dream of hope again. Humph, don't get full of yourself, Mutt. Stay obedient. Twizer thought Tianlong was going to bomb him or become a suicide bomber and take him out with him, but on second thought he realized that Tianlong had no means to secure a bomb, or even make one with insufficient materials even if he can learn from the internet or the dark web. Twizer didn't want to stay anymore. He harumphed and left swiftly. Tianlong was lying down as he kept staring outside the window. His eyes seemed lifeless without any color. Suddenly, he focused his eyes only to see a monstrosity with long 6 wings appear outside the window. He kept staring at it silently with a shocked face. He couldn't believe his own eyes. He wondered what had happened to him this week. First, he believed in a stupid fantasy notebook, and now he felt that he was hallucinating. Tianlong chuckled to himself with a mocking expression on his face. After a moment of silence, "Who are you?" Tianlong asked, his voice trembling. Although he didn't want to admit it, that monster seemed very real, its gaze was just terrifying. "Are you the human who picked up my book?" said the monstrosity. Book? Tianlong had a momentary lapse of his memory, but he quickly remembered the death book he picked up 3 days ago. Yes. I was the one who picked up the death book. Quickly help me kill that bastard Twizer. I wrote his name on the death book, but he just won't die. Are you the one who's going to kill him? Hope reignited inside of Tianlong as he asked with a crazed expression on his face. Hey, wait a moment, my name is Leave It, you can just call me the Death God Overlord. Death God Overlord? Tianlong gulped on hearing such a grand title. Yes, are you sure you wrote the real name of the person you want to die? The Overlord looked at him with a condescending gaze. Real name? Tianlong muttered. Pub Future adds. It's his fake name. Tianlong abruptly remembered when Twizer introduced himself. He said people called him Twizer. In reality, Tianlong had experienced Twizer's devastating abuse for over 10 years. He wasn't at fault when he thought that Twizer was his real name. After all, that name was plaguing him for over 10 years. Then help me kill him, Overlord. Tianlong requested with killing intent gleaming in his eyes. I can't. Even though you are now the owner of this death book, I will not help you kill someone. If you want to kill that person, then you have to find his real name. How? I have no idea, and he doesn't leave any traces either. Tianlong became worried. Boy, I have a deal that can make you find his real name. But for that, you will have. Deal. Tianlong didn't care as long as he could kill him at this point. Quick answer. But let me finish. This deal will require half of your remaining lifespan, and in return, you will get the death god eyes that can inspect a person's real name and lifespan. Consider carefully. Deal. There isn't anything to consider. Tianlong said with a determined expression on his face. He deemed that it's better to live a year freely than live these 2 years in hell. All right. A week later. Creak. The door opened, and Twizer entered Tianlong's room. He sneered and started with the provocation as if he would never be tired of it. Yo, Mutt, I see you are still the same obedient dog. Mo Yuming, hey. Tianlong sneered openly, imitating his expression. You disobedient dog. Let's see how you laugh again. Mo Yuming promptly started beating him up again. Tianlong endured it as he always does, albeit he was a little excited inwardly. Mo Yuming felt a little uncomfortable and shouted. Aren't you going to kill me? Ads by Pub Future. Pub Future adds. 10 years have passed, and you still can't beat me in a fight? You mutt. He shouted and suddenly lost the excitement to beat him up, so he left the room without even looking back. Tianlong immediately stood up and went to jot down his name on the death book. Mo Yuming. Finally, ha 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 ha. Tianlong let out a burst of crazed laughter. After 30 seconds, he dashed out of his door at full speed. He caught up to Mo Yuming in 10 seconds, who was walking over the corridor. There was a distance of 10 meters between them. You mutt! You dare to come out? Once Mo Yuming spotted Tianlong, he slowly approached him, readying his fists. 5. Mutt, what is that book in your hands? Mo Yuming didn't seem to remember giving Tianlong an object like this. 4. He showed the book to him. Death book? What's that? An artifact? 3. Mo Yuming grew enraged. What the fuck are you counting this time around for? 2. Tianlong possessed a crazed smile on his face. Fess up, mutt. Mo Yuming got hold of his collar. 1. Die. Thump. Mo Yuming immediately clutched at his chest. He produced a shocked expression on his face filled with pain. You. Mo Yuming pointed at Tianlong and fell over Tianlong's shoulders. He lost his life permanently. When royals ditched the dress code and went viral. Her beauty. Ha 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 ha. Tianlong pushed him away and laughed hysterically. Mo Yuming's corpse fell on the floor with a thud. After laughing for who knows how long, a voice could be heard in the corridor. Papa? A 6-year-old girl can be seen standing 5 meters away from him. She moved closer to the corpse and stood beside it. Papa, wake up! She gave a push to the corpse. After trying for some time and seeing her father not wake up, she started to cry. Tianlong stared at her and smiled evilly. Oh? Mo Yuming had a daughter? So unexpected, he used his death god eyes and saw that her name was Mo Huan. She even had a longer lifespan than her own father. For all the mistakes he'd done, it looks like I can vent myself on his daughter. Tianlong smirked. His pupils were red due to the death god eyes that made him look pure evil. Tianlong kicked the little girl away from her father, sending her flying. "Iya!" The little girl growled in pain and cried, "Woo woo! Everything is your father's fault. Papa! Help me! Woo woo woo!" The little girl pitifully cried as she tried to wipe her tears, trying to stand up. However, Tianlong came before her and started stomping on her little face. The little girl used her tiny hands to block his kicks, but it was of no use. She instead twisted her body and tried to crawl back to her father as she sobbed, "Papa, Papa! Do you know how many times your father trampled on me? Do you know how many times your father made me crawl? This doesn't even compare to 1/10 of what your father did to me." Tianlong let her crawl back to her father while he kept kicking her small figure. When Mo Huan reached her father, she got hold of her father's shirt and didn't let go. "Oh, what's this?" Tianlong found a knife on Mo Yuming's body. "Maybe I can make my heart be at peace if I cut you piece by piece." Tianlong smiled evilly and made a slash at her face. "No! Help! Papa!" The little girl who caught sight of the shimmering screamed miserably. Bang! A punch came out from nowhere, sending Tianlong flying through the corridor. And then in the eerie atmosphere, Tianlong suddenly disintegrated. I remember quickly running away rather miserably after seeing this girl cry her heart out sadly for her father. The 10 years I spent in this hell doesn't even compare to the guilt when I saw this child cry while cupping her dead father's face. If it weren't for this child, perhaps, I would have truly turned out what I didn't want to become. A sigh escaped from a person who stood beside the child. He had blonde hair and an attractive face, even though he looked like a child. "Still, to play such an evil role with my body, did you think you can change my heart? My heart demon?" Davis produced a smug expression on his face while questioning himself. Chapter 17, Breakthrough, Mid-Level Nascent Soul Stage. In the Redemption Tower, the 3rd floor. Davis, who was subconsciously cultivating the sacred luminance mist, slightly shuddered. A bright golden luminance surrounded him as he made a breakthrough to mid-level nascent soul stage. His cultivation climbed higher until his foundation stopped rising to a point and remained incredibly stable at that level. He opened his eyes, and he could feel with his soul that only 6 hours had passed while he spent 10 years in that hell. What a scary heart demon! It had me in its palm for over 10 years, little by little connecting me with my past self. First, pain. Second, emotions. Third, a state where I could only watch mindlessly and not make a move. If I hadn't realized at the last moment if I had managed to torture and kill the girl, would I truly be the one to return here? Davis trembled. He suddenly felt as if this question should be left unanswered for the time being. In any case, he felt he was the same as ever, not much different from the time he entered the heart demon trial. However, there was something about him different that he couldn't put his finger upon. He didn't ponder much, so he quickly stood up and exited the tower. When he came out of the tower, he could see a figure run up to him extremely fast. That figure instantly closed the distance before he could even react and hugged him, giving him pure warmth. He smiled. "I'm back, Mother." "You silly." Claire released him as she looked at him. Davis realized that her eyes were red. She looked like she had cried for a long time. Pub Future ads. Logan came closer, walking slowly. He angrily stared at Davis, but he was inwardly delighted. What happened? Why is Mother's eyes so red? Davis felt that he should be the one who was angry this time around. "Davis, you idiot! The heart demon session doesn't even last over an hour, and you have been there for over 6 hours. Just look at how your mother was worried sick about you, humph. If you hadn't come out, I would have killed you myself." Logan explained with an angry face, but he didn't mean it one bit. Instead, at that time, he was fidgety and indecisive about whether he should stop the formation to rescue Davis. But if he were to do so, he believed that there might be unimaginable consequences. Hence, he decided to put his faith in his son. Fortunately, they saw him come out after 6 hours. Otherwise, they would have no choice but to stop the formation. After you entered the tower for more than an hour, your mother couldn't help but leave the imperial castle. She waited for 2 more hours in this place worriedly, but then she cried for about an hour and fainted. She just woke up just now. You are such a disgrace. What if something had happened to her and the baby in her womb? After seeing that his son was fine, Logan wanted to scold his son severely. Mother, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for making you worry. I promise that I'll never make you. Davis realized his fault and hurriedly apologized but was interrupted. Silly, you can't make that promise. You are meant to spread your wings in the future. No matter where you go, Mother wouldn't stop worrying about you. Claire knew that her son would soar higher than anyone else in the future. That is the confidence that she had for her son, her pride. Davis pursed his lips and felt moved. Even though it wasn't directly his fault, he felt that it was better to apologize and comfort his mother with words because he learned that pregnancy posed a greater danger to cultivator women more than mortal women. There were just too many complications that could harm the baby if the pregnant women weren't properly taken care of, and he, Davis, made his mother who was pregnant with a child cry till she fainted. This might inadvertently worsen her situation. Hence, he couldn't help but feel extremely sorry at the same time. Ads by Pub Future. Pub Future ads. Alright, let's return to the Imperial Castle. Logan shook his head and said. Both of them nodded. In the Emperor's quarters. So? You did make a breakthrough, right? Logan asked, quite in doubt. The amulet Davis had on him was concealing his soul-forging cultivation. Hence, Logan found it difficult to tell. Yes, I've advanced to the mid-level nascent soul stage, Davis replied with a smile. Good. Logan nodded in satisfaction. Davis, use your soul sense, Claire said as she touched her glabella. Davis spontaneously used his soul sense as he knew how to extend his soul sense from reading the basics. A transparent form of energy tinged with light golden luminance spread around 50 meters of him in a spherical radius. In this space, he could perceive everything that is within his range. It was an uncanny and strange feeling that left him momentarily stunned. Davis lost himself in a trance, perceiving his surroundings while Logan and Claire had their jaws drop. I know that his soul is powerful, but not this powerful, Claire muttered. Davis became confused. What part of him did it cause them to say that his soul is very powerful, but he immediately realized it. An average person with a mid-level nascent soul stage cultivation could only extend his soul sense for about 10 meters while, on the other hand, you can extend up to 50 meters. This precisely denotes that your soul is 5 times more powerful than an average person who trains in soul-forging cultivation, Claire explained. Explore 36 BHK luxury residences with retail, clubhouse more. Why are Mumbai buyers racing for these new Panvel 4 BHK homes? Is infertility holding you back? But then, why can't I extend my soul sense up to 5 meters when I was in low-level nascent soul stage? Davis expressed his doubts. Silly, Claire giggled. It simply doesn't work that way. Average cultivators of the low-level nascent soul stage can only make their soul escape once their body is destroyed. Even then, their souls would quickly evaporate if they couldn't find a compatible treasure to secure their souls. Weak low-level nascent soul stage cultivators are simply unable to use soul sense at that cultivation base. Only people with powerful souls can use their soul sense to scan their bodies 2 or 3 times when in low-level nascent soul stage, like your father, Claire explained patiently. Logan produced a proud face when he heard her say that, but once he thought about how his son had beat him, his face deflated. Davis, you should have unlocked the first layer of sacred luminance mist by now, display it for Mother. The first layer? Okay. Davis nodded and circulated his soul to perform according to the first layer of sacred luminance mist. Layers of a cultivation technique can be easily comprehended, unlike battle techniques, which requires manual comprehension. The only prerequisite was that one should reach the required stage and trained in that specific cultivation manual. Of course, if one was stupid and talentless, then even that one will find it difficult to comprehend the layers of a cultivation technique even if they reach the required cultivation stage. A bright golden force field spread 10 meters from Davis. Davis felt like nothing could damage his soul in this space. The sacred soul shield you formed is powerful as well. Both of them weren't surprised this time. Even peak-level nascent soul stage cultivators will find it very difficult to break that. Logan sighed in submission. He didn't even realize that he was competing with his son. That's it? Davis expected more, like a flamboyant move capable of thrashing around everyone around him. Cough cough. Ha, if this is the end, then it won't be any different than other soul-forging cultivation manuals, which enables you to deploy a soul shield. Claire confidently said and added, try shrinking it till you cover your entire body with it. Davis nodded his head and tried to shrink the golden force field. The golden force field shrank until it only covered his body. Logan and Claire looked at how his soul is not only powerful but pure as well. This. Wouldn't even infant soul stage cultivators find it hard to break this sacred soul shield of his? Logan muttered. Claire became dumbfounded as well. She uttered absent-mindedly, yes. The infant soul stage is the second stage of soul forging cultivation. Davis was kind of happy but, at the same time, disappointed thinking that his shield was not useful against young soul stage cultivators. He didn't know that his parents were comparing him subconsciously with other cultivators who cultivated in other sky-grade soul forging cultivation manuals. Chapter 18, Preparation. Davis, since you have a powerful soul, it's also a must for you to become an alchemist, or else your heaven-blessed talent will just be wasted. Claire urged her son. Davis had both a stupid and crying expression on his face. That process where people make pills from a cauldron. It looks effortless to read in a novel, but is it really easy to do in reality? Claire noticed his expression and reprimanded, what? Do you even know what alchemy is? Do you know how easy it is to cultivate with pills in your arsenal? Do you how much respect the alchemists command in this grand sea continent? All right, mother doesn't have to explain all this, just let father teach me. All right? Davis replied as he already knew what kind of bullshit respect those alchemists have, those misers. Claire immediately glared at Logan while he just looked around and started whistling as if he hadn't heard anything. Claire then said to Davis with a not-so-smiling expression on her face. Davis, your father was the fifth in line for the throne and wasn't interested in anything other than women and cultivation. He was moderately arrogant, so he didn't train in alchemy at all, and as a result, you see a failure of a father who can't teach you alchemy. Claire. Logan's face was red in embarrassment. This was a dark history that he didn't want anyone to know about. If his people knew that he, as an emperor, didn't know a dime about alchemy, they would probably laugh till they die. Davis gulped as he realized that his mother's sharp words could kill people sometimes. Screw the death book, I should have the mother book. Seeing his embarrassed expression, Claire felt that she went too far and said, he stopped flirting with other women when he started loving me. At least, your father is very upright in this regard. Pub future ads. Logan regained his bearings as he gained some face with that statement. No worries, even though many alchemists command respect, they can't compare to an emperor of a sky-grade empire such as me, and your talent is very high, which makes even me jealous. Alchemists will probably flock to have you as a direct disciple if they know how powerful your soul is. Logan explained with a proud expression on his face. Suddenly, he narrowed his eyes, but the problem is, it is not a good thing to reveal your talent in front of the public. We have just recently survived a disaster, and our overall prowess has dropped. Even though we are a powerhouse, we must be careful enough to not fall into the plot of others, such as assassinations. Claire pondered and moved her lips. Then we should just invite a high-tiered, trustable alchemist to teach Davis in the royal castle. We can secretly invite him using various proxies so that even if the invite failed, he would not be able to trace it back to us. That's doable too. Logan nodded, listening to his wife's idea. Does that mean that I am not allowed to roam the royal capital? Davis didn't want to bring out the death book here, as his parents may know about it. As for why he didn't bring it out in the Redemption Tower, he thought that place was monitored as well. Obviously, you're not getting one step outside the royal castle without your father or me accompanying you. It is too dangerous. Claire scoffed. Even though the imperial capital is our home field? Davis expressed his doubts. On the surface, the imperial capital may look calm, but many dangerous undercurrents are lurking unbeknownst to us. Logan said with a serious expression on his face and added, ever since the rebellion, we have been severely weakened, which made the other empires send their spies, assassins, and whatnot. There's no telling that a random person with powerful hidden cultivation might approach you from somewhere, only to kill you and die himself. Davis audibly gulped. I've underestimated this world too much. Even though he already knew that he was constantly under protection, he just thought it was a royalty thing. All these years, no attempts on his life had been made. Hence, he became rather relaxed in this life even though he was hard-working. And I will still know where you are as I have placed a soul mark on you. Where? Davis panicked and immediately checked his soul for any foreign entities. A bright golden talisman-like symbol shot out from Logan's soul to Davis's soul. Ads by Pub Future. Pub Future ads. Here Logan smugly smiled while Claire laughed. Davis knew that he was played the fool right now. He glared at his father and secretly swore that he would take revenge for this. Davis, let Mother also mark you so that I can immediately react to any emergencies. Claire sweetly echoed. Go ahead, Mother. Davis could only give up. One had already marked him. Hence, two wouldn't make a difference, and if he said otherwise, although they might retract their soul marks, it is also possible that they would turn suspicious of him, which he didn't want for the time being or any time in the future. Hee, silly. Claire was very happy that Davis didn't put any restrictions or limitations in front of her. She also gave him a low-level sky-grade protective treasure, and it was in the shape of a locket. Father, I now want to train in body tempering cultivation. Davis seriously declared. No. First, you should stabilize your soul forging cultivation. My soul forging cultivation is already stable. Davis quickly answered. Then you have to wait for your body to get used to pain. Father, I am used to pain, Davis smirked. Logan's eyes twitched. At this rate, won't he punch a hole through the heavens and ascend quickly? He sighed. All right, let me get you a tutor for body tempering cultivation first. Claire will arrange you the resources that you need to achieve a breakthrough. Explore 36 BHK luxury residences with retail, clubhouse more. Unveil the arena, live where elite comfort meets adventure. Is infertility holding you back? Won't you teach me, Father? Davis asked sincerely. I'm sorry, Davis, I don't have time for everything. Logan produced a difficult expression on his face. I understand. Davis knew that his father, as the emperor, must have a shitload of work to do, so he didn't let it bother him. Father, what about the SE? I know, once you complete your body cultivation, Claire will see to your essence gathering cultivation. Logan clearly had enough of his bullshit. Cultivating so fast, was their son Davis going to war with the heavens? Or should I just assign you enough? No thanks. Davis was more than happy to be with his mother together. Logan laughed. Haha, all right, it's getting busy for me. My subordinates will be getting anxious if I go missing for a long time. Hence, I must return. You and Claire should rest for today. Don't make Claire teach you too much a day, let her rest for more period of time. I know, Father, at that time, I will either be with Clara or in the Imperial Library, so no need to worry. I will take care of my mother." Logan and Claire both smiled, satisfied by his reply. Logan then left, Princess carrying Claire to her room. Davis smiled at their display. "Maybe one day, perhaps I would also Princess carry a woman who likes me." He smirked at his own imagination and headed towards the study. "Phew, looks like I can't even sneak out of the Imperial Castle. Then I will just have to get even stronger, so as to let father and mother acknowledge me enough to let me out." Davis had flames gushing out from his eyes. He understood that he was just 5 years old but still wanted to explore this world. Well, at least the neighboring streets for now. Chapter 19, Body Tempering Cultivation. The next day, Davis went to the Imperial training grounds that was in the Imperial Castle. Only the Emperor's direct descendants were allowed to train in that location. Hence, it could be said that it was relatively empty. Normally, it would be filled with princes and princesses trying to improve their cultivation, but now, such a sight couldn't be seen anymore. When Davis reached the entrance, he saw a middle-aged man who looked about 30 years old. That middle-aged man who was looking sideways, shifted his head to see Davis approaching him. "Hendrickson. Isn't this guy the Imperial advisor? He is my tutor now." Davis used his death god eyes to inspect him when he turned sideways before, so he was unsure whether it would work on him, but it worked. "Welcome Prince, I am Hendrickson, the Imperial advisor, and also act as a military advisor at times of war. From now on, I'll be your tutor in body tempering cultivation." Hendrickson bowed lightly and introduced himself. "Hello Mr. Hendrickson, I'll be in your care from now on." Davis acted rather cutely as if he was really excited to have him as his tutor. "Oh, Your Highness, please drop the honorifics, Hendrickson is fine." Hendrickson didn't dare to act arrogantly. The Imperial family might have many plots and schemes when they have too many members, but he was sure that there is no such thing in this small Imperial family. He also knew that they were incredibly protective of one and another. Pub Future ads. "Okay, Miss Hendrickson." Davis purposefully made a mistake as he adorable smiled. "Haha." Hendrickson laughed weakly as he sighed, "Still, why did the Emperor ask me to train a 5-year-old child? Isn't it too soon? Even though I rejected, His Majesty won't take no for an answer." "Prince Davis, I heard from the Emperor that you have already trained your body to some extent. Let me check your body." Hendrickson released his soul sense and checked Davis' body, but he then noticed the sky-grade treasure amulet and locket, and he can deduce the locket's feature but didn't know the amulet's function. You have trained your body well, follow me, the Empress is waiting in the body tempering chamber." Hendrickson started walking in a direction. Mother? Okay." Davis followed. "Miss Hendrickson, what is your current cultivation base in all cultivation systems?" Davis had an excited face when he asked that. "Oh ho, Your Highness, it isn't anything great. Out of the 3 cultivation systems, I specialize in body tempering cultivation system. I've reached peak level silver stage, mid-level body transformation stage, and low-level young soul stage." Hendrickson explained calmly, even though he was secretly proud. "What? My death god's eyes were able to inspect a young soul stage cultivator." Davis became secretly astonished. He didn't dare to use it on his mother and father. He didn't even dare to use it on the maids and servants, anxious that they might be secret experts assigned to protect him. He was afraid that if they were to know him inspecting them, he would have to explain that he didn't want to one way or another. After all, he felt that the death book is the only secret which he shouldn't reveal. "Oh, that is wonderful. Miss Hendrickson." Ads by Pub Future. Pub Future ads. Hendrickson had black lines on his face. He can only hear Davis calling him Miss Hendrickson every time, but he could only suffer this humiliation silently. "Should I try using the death book? No, that would mean killing him is no good, but I don't know if it will even work on him. Will the death book even work on cultivators who are way stronger than me? Humans back on Earth were all probably equal in soul level, so the death book was able to work on them. Even so, it was full of limitations. Here, I don't think the rules are the same. There must be different kinds of limitations. Davis felt a huge headache as he thought that he would have to experiment on people to find out its powers. Then that would mean, I can only use it on people who deserve to die. The prison would be a good place to experiment. Thinking like this, Davis smirked with an evil expression on his face. They soon arrived at a place called the Body Tempering Chamber. This wasn't the only place of cultivation in the Imperial training grounds, but there were other chambers as well. The Body Tempering Chamber was filled with various kinds of training equipment. Davis saw his mother patiently waiting there for him. He saw her smile, and he immediately rushed to her. Mother arranged this for you, so your body's foundation and strength might be even stronger than other cultivators on the same level. Claire smiled as she pointed at a wooden bathtub. Whoa! Davis happened to be moved inwardly, but he had to act like a kid in front of others. Do you know what it means when women cross their legs? Her beauty. In that bathtub, a low-level sky-grade tyrant body pill is diluted in that spirit water. Your body isn't powerful enough to digest the whole pill. Your body will explode. Your Majesty, may I? Hendrickson asked. Go ahead, Royal Advisor, Claire nodded. Isn't it too soon for the prince to be body cultivating? What if His Highness receives a trauma and is unable to cultivate because of it? Hendrickson was simply worried that if Davis were to be in danger, he would be blamed for it. No need to worry, Royal Advisor, we have the utmost trust in our child, he will be able to do it. Claire declared confidently as a matter of fact. Hendrickson became baffled, and turned to look at Davis's childlike pure, innocent face. Where do they even get the confidence from? All right then, Your Highness, get inside the bathtub and start cultivating the tyrant body secrets. You could have diluted the pill and drank it, but we want your body to endure less pain. We want to have your body get used to the pain. Hendrickson said. Davis smiled innocently and nodded. He got inside the bathtub. He suddenly felt pain all over his body except his head. His eyes shot wide, and he now knew that body tempering cultivation was no joke. Davis immediately started circulating tyrant body secrets and endured extreme pain for 2 hours before he gradually got adjusted to it. Claire came closer to him and fed him the diluted pill essence, more powerful than the bathtub's diluted essence. If his pores were open, then he could have absorbed the diluted pill essence, but it had now gone to waste. Davis felt like his internal organs were burning. Even so, he continued to cultivate tyrant body secrets while gritting his teeth. He ran the absorbed energy through the meridians in his body. The painful sensation of the body tempering cultivation session lasted for 2 more hours until a faint sound could be heard from his body. Crack! His body emitted a little reddish-brown aura from his body while he could feel his strength soar exponentially. Feeling the power welling up within him, he felt like he could now lift a car single-handedly if he tried. Claire beamed as she could see that he achieved copper stage, while Hendrickson became astonished to see that the prince could withstand the excruciating process of body tempering cultivation. Chapter 20, Fallen Extinction Lightning. Mother, I did it! Davis animatedly exclaimed, feeling elated. You've made Mother gratified, Davis. Claire smiled proudly. Congratulations, Your Highness. Your Highness has taken the first step in cultivation, earlier than anyone else I've known. Hendrickson nodded in acknowledgement. He didn't expect this naive-looking child's tenacity and endurance to be this high. Thank you, Hendrickson. Hendrickson nodded even more appreciatively. The prince didn't call him miss this time. Davis got out of the bathtub. He then excitedly stretched his limbs. He can feel that his body was filled with overflowing power that he had never experienced before. Hendrickson commented. Good, unlike the other 2 cultivation systems where you accumulate energy and advance slowly, cultivating in body tempering cultivation, you only need resources and resolve to advance, but it only gets harder and difficult as you advance. He shook his head, lamenting that he still finds it difficult to break through into the gold stage, the fifth stage in body tempering cultivation. Davis, there's a strength gauging equipment over there. Go punch it, Claire stated. Davis moved to the equipment which his mother pointed at and punched normally. Bang! 532 kilograms. Davis then clenched his fists and punched with all his strength. Pub Future ads. Bang! 1021 kilograms. Whoa! God damn, this is so awesome! Davis became excited inwardly while looking at the numbers. Davis, perform the first layer technique of Tyrant Body Secrets. Claire smiled as she looked forward to his performance. Davis nodded as he started gathering power in his right fist. Reddish-brown aura suddenly covered his right arm, and he punched forward with all his might. 5,164 kilograms. Good. With the Tyrant aura amplification, Your Highness could even rival low-level bronze stage cultivators in strength. For those who cultivate in an earth-grade body cultivating manual, Your Highness could rival a high-level copper stage cultivator in strength. Hendrickson commented. Copper stage is the first stage in body tempering cultivation, while the bronze stage is the second stage in body tempering cultivation. There were 4 levels separating them, from low level to peak level. But, if I were to face a low-level copper stage cultivator who cultivates in a sky-grade body tempering cultivation manual, won't we be evenly matched? Yes, but that also depends on the manual that the other person is cultivating in, because even sky-grade manuals have levels. Of course, it even includes one's battle prowess too, Hendrickson added. Davis sighed, thinking, looks like I'm only powerful in soul-forging cultivation. But by the time you reach the gold stage gradually, you would have developed a tyrant physique that even increases your strength and defense twice. At that time, no one in the same stage will be your opponent. That's why it's named as Tyrant. Hendrickson proudly declared. MHM? Can't I achieve the Tyrant physique now? Davis asked curiously with a confused expression on his face. The Lowrit Empire doesn't have that kind of resources. Well, it had before, but for now, there are no whereabouts of the mystic Tyrant fruit. I will inform Your Highness's Imperial Father, the Emperor, if we ever were to find one in the future. Ads by Pub Future. Pub Future ads. Davis's eyes shone brightly. Looks like I still have hope to become even stronger. All right, Your Highness, just have to cultivate like this till you reach the peak level. If you find yourself stumped in front of any bottlenecks, you can visit me in this chamber in the morning. At other times, I won't be available. Hendrickson informed. Okay. Davis nodded. Davis, let's go. Claire held Davis. MHM. They both then left. Claire slightly grinned on seeing how he acted like a child from the start to the end. She shook her head, feeling rather humored. In the Empress's quarters. Brother. A female baby jumped excitedly in her cradle. The baby neared 1.5 years old in age and 76 centimeters tall in height. Her face remained chubby and extremely cute, while her cute purple eyes glowed mystically with an enigmatic feel. Her silky smooth short blonde hair cascaded to her neck. Clara. Your brother is here. Davis hurriedly ran towards her, pinched her cheeks and tickled her neck. Ha ha, no. Ha ha, Clara giggled cutely. Davis lifted her and held her in his arms. He then turned to Claire. Mother, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have jinxed it. Davis was extremely regretful at this point. Do you know what it means when women cross their legs? Her beauty. It's fine, at least it's a good thing. Claire sighed gently. Clara had a set of unique eyes from her birth. After a year from her birth, they recently discovered that her eyes were glowing. The 3 of them panicked, and later when they researched and discussed it, they calmed down. Apparently, Clara seemed to have something special called the Transcendent Truth Eyes. The Transcendent Truth Eye is a unique constitution. The one who possesses it could see through lies and deceit, and if Clara manages to perfect that power, then no one would be able to lie in front of her. The only problem now is that her eyes lit up randomly. She's just a baby, so she couldn't possibly control it. Claire couldn't help but worry. It will be fine, Mother. When she grows up, she should be able to control it. After all, the records you read in the Imperial Library mentioned that those who possess transcendent truth eyes are natural-born rulers. Davis stated confidently. You're right. Claire nodded, but her face showed otherwise. Perhaps, such is the fate of a caring mother. Mother, you can rest today. I'll start cultivating essence gathering cultivation tomorrow. If you say so. She smiled, thinking even if she persuaded him not to, he wouldn't listen. But in exchange, you have to tell me about that treasure. You said that we have it in our treasury, Davis asked excitedly as the name itself seemed impressive. All right. Claire couldn't help but laugh. Her son seems to be extremely interested in treasures and the like. Well, who isn't? Claire shook her head. The fallen extinction lightning was captured by our previous emperor, your paternal grandfather. He single-handedly journeyed and captured it from the Lightning Fall Mountains that is very far from our empire. But during the battle, sadly, he underestimated the fallen extinction lightning, so he was grievously wounded, but he still managed to capture the sky-grade lightning elemental. So, my grandfather, the previous emperor, died from injuries? How can it be? He was so powerful, more powerful than father. Davis couldn't believe that a mere injury could make his grandfather succumb to death. His grandfather was at the 5th stage in all the cultivation systems except soul forging cultivation. Unfortunately, the fallen extinction lightning possesses corrosive and annihilation properties. He succumbed to the corrosive injuries that the fallen extinction lightning left behind in his body. Claire sighed. Since grandfather went to capture it, then he should have known the properties behind the fallen extinction lightning. I don't believe that an emperor who ruled an empire for decades didn't investigate it before. Davis shook his head, thinking something didn't make sense. Claire sighed again. In fact, it seemed that he did, but the information was outdated. He originally went to capture a peak-level Earth-grade silent extinction lightning for the first prince's son, but by the time he arrived there, it had already evolved into a sky-grade fallen extinction lightning. Everything was for naught. She shook her head sadly, but a complicated emotion flashed past her eyes. Partially because of that, I am able to reside here without a problem. Chapter 21, Meridian Refinement Stage. Clara was placed in her cradle as she got tired of their banter. She slept peacefully like a newborn kitten while embracing her legs. Fortunately, your grandfather managed to erase fallen extinction lightning's consciousness before dying. The previous first prince and his son got assassinated, so it is now ripe for the taking. Claire grinned mischievously. If you use that lightning elemental to cultivate your essence-gathering cultivation, then you will surely be more powerful than cultivators who cultivate in other sky-grade essence-gathering manuals. Claire smiled resplendently at the thought that her son will only get more powerful steadily as time passes by. Children only concentrate on one cultivation system at a time, while Davis happens to cultivate all 3 cultivation systems at the same time. Hence, in Claire's eyes, her son was just becoming more and more powerful by the day, leaving his peers in the dust. The next day, at the study, Davis sat cross-legged while examining the meridian refinement stage's cultivation process. Apparently, it looks like I have to refine the meridians in my body, and since I would cultivate with lightning attributed manual, I should make lightning pass through my meridians, a sky grade 1 at that. I'm done for. This is obviously shock treatment. Isn't this even crueler than body tempering cultivation? His mind floated with images of people being fried to charcoal by lightning. Davis, are you ready? The door suddenly opened, and Claire walked in with a smile on her face. Ah? Yes, I'm ready. Davis gulped as that smile kind of looked evil to him. They then proceeded to a place that is designed for closed-door cultivations, called cultivation quarters. Relax. Father and Mother are here to help you suppress the sky-grade lightning elemental, don't fret over it. Claire comforted him as she can entirely see his nervousness when she suddenly walked in. Davis nodded and didn't say anything. They then made their way to a room in these quarters. There were more than 10 rooms in this place. Pub Future ads. Claire opened the door and walked inside, and he followed her. Inside there was a formation that was capable of suppressing the power of lightning elemental to a certain extent. Logan was seated at the side, obviously waiting for these two to come. Even though it was just easier for all three of them to send soul transmissions, they didn't communicate through that way. They didn't want to reveal Davis's soul-forging cultivation under any circumstances. Father, let's start. Somehow, Davis didn't want to show weakness in front of his father. Well, aren't you hasty? Logan commented and walked forwards. He looked at Claire, and they both nodded their heads. Let's begin then. Davis, sit inside the formation's heart and refine your meridians by circulating the energy while following the circulation method from Extinction Lightning Judgment Essence Gathering Cultivation Manual. You don't need to worry about the lightning elemental as we will help you in suppressing it. Davis nodded as he took a deep breath before sitting in the middle of the formation. There were no words spoken further. Logan and Claire used the formation to control and refine the lightning elemental through the unique formation and began sending the lightning essence energy to Davis with utmost caution. Davis began refining his meridians as he focused his mind on the energy that entered his body. The formation housed the fallen extinction lightning as it also works as a suppressing formation, hence, the lightning elemental that would have instinctively fried them became suppressed enough to be refined. Furthermore, Logan and Claire took the brunt of the refinement of the berserk lightning energy and only sent the tamed and refined lightning energy to Davis. Davis's meridians were already strengthened because he had reached the first stage in body tempering cultivation using tyrant body secrets. As he slowly circulated the lightning attributed energy in his meridians, he felt a tingling sensation at the start, followed by a burning feeling. It felt as if he was electrocuted and corroded at the same time. Nevertheless, its effects were negligible since it's being suppressed by both his parents and the formation. So this is the fallen extinction lightning, a lightning elemental that equals 5th stage powerhouse is really powerful. It's not bad. I don't feel much pain. Ads by Pub Future. Pub Future ads. It is a good thing that Mother and Father are here. If not, I would have to cultivate from the bottom of the food chain if I truly were to truly be an orphan again. His thoughts ran astray as he felt confident enough to cultivate even without the utmost concentration. He slowly repeated the circulation method again and again until he refined his meridians to a concise level. The process lasted for about 5 long hours before he advanced to the meridian refinement stage. Just when he was about to shout out in excitement, a voice rang on his mind. Don't lose your concentration. We'll help you absorb the fallen extinction lightning. Immediately focus your soul on absorbing it now. Davis could feel his soul being invaded by the lightning elemental. He had his eyes closed, so he didn't see the fallen extinction lightning's form. In any case, he began absorbing it into his soul as instructed. Bzzz. Arg. Pain. Davis was instantly filled with extreme pain that rocked his soul. It felt like his thoughts were going haywire. He almost lost concentration but continued to grit his teeth. He knew he wouldn't be able to last longer, so he concentrated anew using his whole consciousness this time to succeed without caring for any repercussions. The process lasted for a whole 5 minutes, which felt like an eternity to him before he fainted out of exhaustion. Logan and Claire both heaved a sigh of relief. They knew he had succeeded in absorbing the fallen extinction lightning but also knew it was only possible thanks to his powerful soul that at least possessed the capability to hold the lightning elemental in his soul. After some time, Davis woke up. Is infertility holding you back? Grand 2 BHK homes with wide sun decks from 1.31 cr. SBI Aurum card, apply now. He checked his soul sea and saw a pentagram-shaped black lightning residing within. It maintained a certain distance from the death book. Seeing that both didn't interfere with each other, he inwardly heaved a sigh of relief. He then checked his surroundings and noticed that he was still in the same room. He saw his parents passionately kissing each other. They were so into it that they didn't notice him waking up. Even a slight movement should be able to alert them, but they didn't seem to notice. Logan licked his lips with Claire's. He held her waist, and she cupped his cheeks. Her expression seemed to be sad as there were tears over her eyelids, and at the same time, her lips were savoring his taste as if it didn't want to let go. At first glance, it didn't seem like they were doing this for excitement. Davis didn't make a sound. He stayed silent for some time before they separated from each other's lips. He didn't hear them talking, so he imagined that they must have used soul transmission to speak with each other. After a few seconds, Davis trembled as if waking up just now. At that instant, they instantly separated from each other's embrace. Claire's face became red while Logan's lower garment had a tint. Davis chose to ignore it altogether before he closed his eyes and acted as if he was checking his state. That gave them enough time to be normal again. Something must have happened, he thought. It isn't normal for them to act like that in front of me. Wait, something seems to be wrong in my soul. Davis became startled. He immediately released his soul sense, and it extended up to 500 meters in a spherical radius. This I reached peak level nascent soul stage? He advanced straight from mid-level to peak level while skipping high level. It wasn't as if his soul forging cultivation just skipped, it was just he didn't notice that he entered high level nascent soul stage when he fainted out of exhaustion. Logan and Claire smiled as they knew the reason. Davis forgot that lightning has the effect temper one's soul. Hence, absorbing the low-level sky-grade lightning elemental became an incredible boon for him. He belatedly remembered that fact. He then abruptly felt complicated since his father also seemed to train in extinction lightning judgment, which meant that the fallen extinction lightning is heavily useful to him as well, but they decided to let it be and passed on the big pie to him. Not only was it heavily useful to Logan, but the fallen extinction lightning can also perhaps increase Logan's soul forging cultivation. However, Logan didn't take it selfishly and left the imperial treasure to him. This also indirectly meant that they acknowledged him that he is their rightful heir. Chapter 22, Going to the Prison. Logan and Claire were both ecstatic that their son was able to achieve this feat of cultivating all three cultivation systems at the same time, at such a tender age. They were even more extremely proud when they realized he was just 5 years old. Davis was now able to use his first layer of extinction lightning judgment. The first layer provided the ability to amplify his body with lightning. He can amplify his legs to move faster, clad his arms in lightning to paralyze, and corrode his opponent's flesh. He can even use it on his own brain to increase his thought process and analytical ability, but that requires an extremely high control over his lightning or else he would just fry or corrode his own brain. The fallen extinction lightning, with its property, increased the effectiveness of his powers and battle prowess. After all, it adds an annihilative and corrosive effect to the lightning he employs. Since Davis has achieved basic proficiency in all three cultivation systems, he wanted to test the limitations of his death book as soon as possible. He didn't even know if it worked the same way or not anymore. Half a year passed. Logan, Claire, and Hendrickson taught him more about cultivation during this half-year period. However, they only taught him for at most an hour every day. They seemed like they were busy with something. He still didn't get a chance to use his death book because he felt like he was always being monitored. His parents were acting even more strangely. It was especially the case in this half a year. He knew that something fishy was going on here, but since his parents wouldn't tell him, then he didn't feel the need to ask. Davis went to ask his parents if he could practice his powers on live targets. His parents thought for a moment before they refused. Pub Future adds. Davis was adamant about it and proposed an idea to them. Father, if you don't let me practice on live targets, how can I be an expert? Enough, Davis, how can you be adamant like this? You are just 5 years old, there's no need for you to fight people. All right, Father, how about I take a step back and try my powers on restricted opponents who are in the prison? Hey? Why don't you take me on then? Logan retorted, clearly annoyed. But Father, I won't even be able to beat you, you are too powerful. Davis shamelessly gave up as he whined. Claire, who was beside, glanced at them and laughed. She sent a soul transmission to Logan. Logan's face changed. He then sighed and permitted him to go to prison. Only this time will I be yielding to you, there's no next time. You hear me? Logan made a face full of anger and berated him. Yes. Thanks, Father, Davis chuckled. Let's go. Logan then walked in the direction of the prison. Okay, Davis obediently followed and put on a black robe to cover himself. On the way, for some reason, the palace guards and maids acted like they didn't see him. They only greeted the emperor and the atmosphere seemed tense. He could feel that a soul technique was activated on him. He then knew that he was being cloaked by his father. Ads by Pub Future. Pub Future adds. Is it so bad for a child of royalty to go to the prison? Is that the reason? Davis thought as he felt like he couldn't understand the intricacies of the royal family. They then arrived in front of the prison. Logan stopped there while the prison guards went on their knees and greeted him. The guards looked at the emperor with awe and reverence. The leader of the prison guard stepped up and bowed again. Only his face could be seen, which was pale. He was wearing a blue armor tinted with a yellow crest at the sides. You are? Reporting to the emperor. My name is Bowen. The previous leader of the prison guards colluded with the rebels. Fortunately, Logan, who found his betrayal, managed to kill him before he released all the prisoners. Bowen, I see. The two of them then stayed silent. It can be seen that they were communicating through soul transmission. Bowen had a confused face, then nodded his head vehemently. Then all three of them entered the prison. Logan stopped cloaking Davis at this point. Explore 36 BHK luxury residences with retail, clubhouse, more. SBI Aurum card, apply now. Launching 2 BHK sports-themed homes at Hiranandani in Panvel. You understand, right? Logan asked him with a ruthless glare. Yes, Your Majesty. Bowen replied meekly. He understood that, at this point, he shouldn't do anything the emperor dislikes. Logan then left Davis there, not turning around to inform anything. Cough. Your Highness, let me show you around the prison first. Bowen waved his hands. Okay. Davis cheerfully replied. Bowen then took him around the prison. While walking in the corridor, he informed Davis about the prisoners. There were cells on both sides of the corridor, which held the prisoners. While he explained, he just told about their crimes while leaving the gory part behind. After Davis heard about what he said, he couldn't help but cringe. Their crimes were devoid of humanity. But he didn't stop listening to him, nor did he command him to stop. Davis looked at the prisoners. All of them looked ruthless with no hint of humanity, while some seemed to act as if they were innocent, and then there were some prisoners who looked at him with lascivious eyes. Davis's eyes turned red. He glared at those prisoners one by one. He thought for a moment before questioning Bowen. Bowen. He suddenly interrupted him. Yes, Prince? Bowen looked at him. Why aren't these prisoners put to death? He glared at Bowen. It's not like that, Your Highness. The royal capital holds a public execution each month. They are put to death one by one. It also acts as a deterrent to other wicked criminals. Until then, they stay here waiting for their deaths. Bowen explained. Do you have a list of the prisoners held in here? I do, but what is it for, Your Highness? Bowen was confused, but he still handed over the list from his spatial ring. Davis took the list and saw the name of the prisoner who was going to be executed this month. Wagner? I saw him before, lead me to him. Davis didn't reply to Bowen but just commanded him. Yes, Bowen didn't refuse though he was confused. What is a 5-year-old child going to do meeting a prisoner? Make him change his ways? Heck, I'll be damned. Chapter 23, Empire Under Invasion? Davis and Bowen made their way to the cell, where Wagner was locked inside. The formation in that cell was active, and it prevented Wagner from being able to use his cultivation, and the formation also made him unable to see what was going on outside. Wagner, who was undoubtedly a male, looked at the ceiling with a blank expression on his face. It was as if he was considering when he was going to die this month. Davis then saw a circle switch near the cell's gate. He pressed it. Nothing seemed to happen visibly, but Wagner turned around his face. He saw a small child with blonde hair along with a prison guard. "Ha, don't tell me you brought a brat for me to enjoy?" Wagner seemed to jest, but it was obvious that he viewed Davis with lascivious eyes. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Davis only asked a question. He already made up his mind to make him his first target, but he still wanted an impetus. "Ha, of course, to brutally murder and rape you." Wagner's breathing hastened as a crazy glint encroached his eyes. Davis became thoroughly disgusted, but his face remained the same. It was written in the records that Wagner had necrophilia, and it didn't seem to be faked. On the other hand, Wagner didn't care for anything as he was fated to die this month. It didn't matter whether he offended a big person or not, much less a child. Pub Future ads. "I understand," Davis replied calmly. He then switched off the mechanism. "You understand?" Bowen became utterly dumbfounded. He couldn't understand where this conversation was headed to. "Bowen, leave the prison," Davis commanded. "I can't do that, Your Highness." Bowen was stunned before he replied with a calm expression on his face. "You won't listen to my command?" Davis narrowed his eyes. "I was told by His Majesty to protect you no matter what happens." Bowen shook his head. He looked as if he wasn't going to leave Davis alone, no matter what. Davis slightly narrowed his eyes, but then a smile lit up over his face. "I see, then I will have no choice but to say to my father that you molested me in the prison." What? Bowen couldn't believe his ear. What kind of words did this 5-year-old child utter? His mind momentarily stopped working, unable to form a reply. "I said that I would have no choice but to say that you violated me in the prison. That is totally different than what you said before." Bowen started sweating heavily, but he didn't dare retort. Could it be that all the imperial family members are like this? "This, Your Highness, don't make this difficult for me. I was only tasked to protect you in this prison." Ads by Pub Future. Pub Future ads. "Do you think my imperial father won't act against you? Do you think that the emperor will believe your words or mine?" Davis profoundly asked as if there's an underlying meaning in his words. "What did I do to deserve this? This child is a demon in human form." Bowen was on the verge of tears, and he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "How about this? You're only tasked to protect me, right? Stand guard near the entrance of the prison. This way, you can both protect me and do what I told you, right? You think that these prisoners who are suppressed by these formations can harm me? This all right?" Bowen considered a moment before yielding. He was truly afraid that the little prince, no, the little demon would do as he said. "Good, you're not allowed to use your senses on me, and you're not allowed to peek either. I will come to you to accept food every 4 hours, and with this, you can verify my safety every now and then." This I understand." Although Bowen felt reluctant, what else could he reply? He already accepted His Highness' conditions once, and it did seem that he was able to protect the prince through this method. He at least had the confidence that no matter what happened, he would be able to protect him in the prison. Only he couldn't understand why the prince forbade him from using his soul sense on him. He imagined that it must have to do something with the imperial family's secret, so he didn't dare to ask. After all, a child, especially an imperial child, wouldn't come to this place, just to sightsee, right? Bowen inwardly thought he left that part of the corridor and made his way towards the prison entrance. Davis checked his surroundings before tugging on the soul, summoning the death book. A black aura encircled around him as it changed into a hazy appearance. A book appeared on his hand as he looked at it. It was pure black on both sides of the note, and there wasn't anything written on the cover. He opened the book and turned the pages only to see that it was pure white, without a single speck of dust. He pressed the switch again, only to see Wagner moving his right arm up and down. Explore 36 BHK luxury residences with retail, clubhouse more. The path to parenthood starts with this simple first step. SBI Aurum card, apply now. Honestly, there's no redemption for a bastard like you. Davis wrote his name while he felt disgusted. He'll be sure to give him a worse death. 3 days later. Davis was still roaming inside the imperial prison, experimenting with the death book. In the imperial castle, throne hall. Logan was seated in his throne while Claire sat beside him, but both of their faces appeared extremely grave. The whole throne hall remained crowded even though it was 100 meters long and wide. People were assembled here, ranging from middle-class officials to high-class officials from the imperial palace and the army. The atmosphere enshrouding here was tense. No one dared to utter a word, afraid that they might be cast out or outright killed. Creak. A sound made from opening the huge door of the throne hall echoed, making the people present slightly shudder as if it was a crack from the underworld. An older adult with a commanding disposition walked in with great strides. He was covered in dark blue armor, and he held his grand headgear in his arms. He walked forward until he was in line with 5 other men who were clad in different yet luxurious garments. He kneeled on a single leg on the floor and clasped his hands. Reporting to the emperor, he took a deep breath and shouted. The Albert Kingdom, which is under our jurisdiction, has been conquered by invading forces 2 days ago. Beads of sweat formed on his face. We were unable to defend against the invasion of the combined alliance of the Raven Empire and Tritor Empire. With a bang that caused numerous people to flinch, he kowtowed. We were made to retreat in the face of the giant threat, and I cowardly made the decision for the army to retreat to the imperial capital. Please let this cowardly one die and atone for this mistake. Your Majesty. Without hesitation, he instantly drew his sword from his scabbard and proceeded to stab it into his heart. Bang! Robust yet formless energy came out from nowhere and knocked the sword out of his hand. He stared blankly, not knowing who did it. It's fine, this emperor forgives you, Supreme Army Commander Randall, Logan replied with a calm expression on his face. Instead of making our army die a cruel and meaningless death, you made the right choice by giving the order to tactically retreat to the imperial capital in exchange for your own reputation. Chapter 24, Royal Capital Under Siege. Randall's eyes became moist as he felt incredibly moved. He hardened his heart and made a great sacrifice by ruining his own reputation when retreating, and he cared for his subordinates so he couldn't let them die a meaningless death. He didn't think anyone or even the new emperor would understand him or his decision to retreat. So when he came to the imperial palace, he was prepared to die by taking his own life in return for his failure. Logan knew that Randall was a loyal commander in the army. As far as he knew, his imperial father would praise him a lot for his bravery and courage, but he also mentioned how he was compassionate and loyal. Logan also knew that Randall's subordinates admired and obeyed him, so losing him would mean a great loss to the already weakened Lowrit Empire, as the army morale would be at an all-time low. Logan, the current emperor, should have in all right beheaded Randall by himself for the mistakes he had committed to establish his authority in the throne hall. But he also understood that doing so was foolish, as it would only lead to dissatisfaction and chaos among his men. In reality, he had started to doubt whether if there were any people already planning to desert his lowered empire. How dare you show your face in front of the emperor after that miserable defeat? Instantly show yourself out. A handsome middle-aged man with sharp facial features berated the army commander, Randall. His face looked sharp, yet his eyes were slightly lazy, but even then, he exuded a solemnness that didn't give someone the opportunity to mock him. He had lush green hair that is neck-length long. He is none other than the current head of the Caldon family, one of the two noble families which sided with the imperial family to quell the rebels. Now, Duke Evan Caldon, there's no need for that, Our Majesty has already forgiven him. Another middle-aged man replied with a calm expression on his face. Pub Future adds. He looked dashing and had bright red hair that cascaded down to waist length. He is none other than the current head of the Nolan family, the other of the two noble families that sided with the imperial family during the rebellion. Humph, are you in support of a coward in the midst of a war, Duke John Nolan? Duke Evan Caldon questioned. There's no need to fight among ourselves now, and show some restraint, you're in front of the Emperor, Duke Caldon. Hendrickson calmly interjected as if he was tired of this farce. Duke Evan Caldon harumphed and said nothing more. He was not that afraid of an emperor that was just a little more powerful than him. What he didn't know was that Logan had already broken through to adult soul stage. If he knew, then he would have not dared to be this disrespectful towards the young emperor. The other two were silent as if this had nothing to do with them. They were the leaders of the Ruthless Sword sect and Piercing Dragon sect. Both of the sects were sky-grade sects, albeit low-level, in which they only had a single Law Seed stage powerhouse sitting on the helm of their respective sects. Nevertheless, the current imperial Loret family wasn't that different from them, since they had lost most of their power due to the rebellion. The destruction of an empire has nothing to do with those two sects, but since they have connections to the imperial family previously, there will probably be a chance for them to get eliminated by the invading empires. They were here to decide whether to help the empire cross over this calamity or not. Enough! Logan echoed, his voice influenced almost everyone present visibly as they subconsciously turned attentive. His voice was magical, along with undulations that surprised each and everyone present. Adult soul stage. The five of them were astonished. They then replied in unison as they bowed, "Congratulations to the Emperor on breaking through to the adult soul stage." The crowd in the back echoed as well. Ads by Pub Future. Pub Future ads. Logan nodded his head casually. Randall, when exactly will they invade the imperial capital? He questioned. Reporting to your Majesty. The invading empires will march here within a day. Randall replied to the best of his knowledge. Communications were lost, and the scouts no longer replied to him. This was the best answer he could give out right now. There was a momentary silence in the throne hall. This is bad. There's no way we will be able to survive. Should we run? Various whispers and soul transmissions were swirling around the throne hall simultaneously. Silence! Hendrickson bellowed. The crowd stood horrified and shut their mouths. Logan knew that this scenario remained hopeless. Most likely, the probable situation is that they would have to escape and reclaim the Empire later. Logan felt like he was stuck in a mire now. On the one hand, he felt like he had to protect his family no matter what. On the other hand, if he escaped, he felt like he was acting opposite to whatever he learned in his life, and that he would have no face to meet his ancestors after death. SBI Aurum card, apply now. Explore 36 BHK luxury residences with retail, clubhouse more. Launching 2 BHK sports-themed homes at Hiranandani in Panvel. The Loret family had always heavily valued morals and victory. From an early age, Logan was influenced by these values. To run and leave his empire to be pillaged, isn't that just the opposite of its teachings? Woohoo! Suddenly, the sound of a war horn being blown echoed throughout the imperial capital. Everyone was suddenly petrified. A random guard came inside the throne room with hurried strides and reported. Your Majesty! This is bad. The invaders have arrived behind our northern gates. Logan had an ugly expression on his face. So soon? He immediately looked at Claire, who was silently seated beside him, and his heart was almost convinced to escape when he heard a voice. Your Majesty, do you plan to escape? The two sect leaders asked in unison with a cold face. Logan became startled. He shot a glare at those two sect leaders, trying to obtain something out of their faces. He could vaguely see that they were not afraid of the consequences of betraying him. He knew that if he tried to escape, these two could betray him any time they saw fit. He could even see them probably handing over his head to appease the invading empires. A hand grabbed Logan's palm, and he turned back to see Claire smiling beautifully at him. The same smile that made him remember the vow they took together when they married each other. We live together and die together. Logan tightly grabbed her hand and nodded at her. He then turned around to them and majestically uttered, "Escape? Are you two so afraid of death that you would support the prospect of me escaping so that you could escape yourselves with the remaining shameless faces you have left?" The two sect leaders' faces flushed quickly with a red hue by being berated in this throne hall, where many people were witnessing their grandeur. Just when they were about to counterattack with words, they heard the Emperor's voice again. "I'm going to war. If you have the guts, follow me or else scram the hell out of my empire." Logan shouted with fervor and made his way out of the throne room while heading towards the north gate of the imperial capital, making Claire also followed behind. The two sect leaders were left with no choice but to follow. The other four of them also followed behind the emperor as he walked with a grand disposition, and witnessing that the emperor himself was leading them, the crowd automatically followed behind them. Logan abruptly sent a soul transmission to Imperial Advisor Hendrickson. Escape with Davis and Clara. Chapter 25, Invaders. Hendrickson made a slight pause in his steps but kept walking instantly. Clara is in the Empress's quarters while Davis is in the Imperial prison safely guarded. Find a chance to slip out, immediately secure them, and escape. Logan sent a soul transmission again. The war was also why he and Claire allowed Davis into the prison. To let him experience some combat so that he could adapt to their current situation. He didn't think that before they could get him back, the main invading army would already be here at the capital. The main invading army's speed was lightning fast than he expected. He knew this must be the work of numerous assassins executing their scouts. Logan then immediately told Hendrickson on how to deactivate the formation guarding the Empress's quarters. As for what that formation was for, one could guess easily. Logan then turned around his head, as if checking who were all currently following behind him. Hendrickson imperceptibly nodded his head, so no one ended up noticing their conversation. As for Logan's soul-forging cultivation, it was too powerful for them to detect his soul transmission. They then continued to travel towards the north gate. Not even halfway there, Hendrickson suddenly echoed. "Your Majesty! Your subordinate has forgotten his weapon in the Imperial Castle, and without that, I would not be able to use my full strength. Your subordinate will quickly return once I retrieve my weapon back." "What? Are you scared?" Logan shot a glare at him as his killing intent erupted. "Are you trying to escape?" "I wouldn't dare, Your Majesty. If you command me to die, then I will quickly kill myself to prove my innocence." Hendrickson trembled as if his plan was seen through. The other five of them thought that it was strange. They heard that Imperial Advisor Hendrickson was brave and courageous, as well as a loyal man. They didn't expect him to back out at this last moment. "Kill yourself then," Logan commanded in a cold-hearted tone. "Yes." Hendrickson severely trembled. He took out a normal sword from his spatial ring and stabbed right at his heart as he pulled his arm towards himself. Puchy! Bang! Just when his sword was already halfway to his heart after piercing the body, some kind of energy knocked the sword off from his hands. 9. The Vampire Diaries scenes that will make your heart race. Her beauty. Ads by Pub Future. I now know your loyalty. You can go right now and quickly come back because we need your strength in this war. Logan replied, his face still cold. Yes, Your Majesty. Hendrickson then left to the Imperial Castle while healing the wound in his chest. Does anyone here would like to get their weapons back? Logan asked with an indifferent face. He was emitting a dense killing intent that made the other four shut their mouths. Logan then continued to travel while the others followed behind. Wasn't that a lame reason to use? But thanks to his actions, I was able to successfully send him out without much suspicion. Logan slightly grinned while he started to take flight from the platform. Revolving core stage cultivators were able to fly, after all, not to mention that Logan is at the Law Seed stage, the fifth stage of essence gathering cultivation. His speed was even greater than mere revolving core cultivators could reach. Let's make haste. He echoed and sped off towards the northern gate. 10 minutes later, Hendrickson made his way to the Imperial Castle and went to his room before sneaking out stealthily dressed in a black robe that covered his features. He arrived in front of the Empress's quarters and knocked out the hidden experts and maids. He went inside and took Clara into his arms. Clara was sleeping, so she didn't notice and cry. He covered her with a black sheet and then made his way out. Just when he headed out of the room, he saw a flash of light. Slash! A blinding light slashed at his head. Hendrickson immediately ducked down. He rapidly retreated and saw the attacker's attire. Assassin! Nicely evaded. The assassin's tone sounded surprised. Brother, are you here to abduct that royal baby as well? Yes, Hendrickson replied with a hoarse voice. Hee, you sure are kind, only knocking out those guards. Ads by Pub Future. Pub Future ads. OYAA. Clara, who was in Hendrickson's arms, was startled awake, and she immediately cried upon seeing strange people surrounding her. Brother, just leave the baby, I won't make this difficult for you. TCH, trash trying to waste my time. Hendrickson immediately took out his prized sword. He released his peak-level silver stage battle aura that radiated a fiendish might. The assassin visibly flinched. Ah! Brother, it's a misunderstanding, you can have the baby, and we'll have the... Boom! Hendrickson immediately covered the distance between him and slashed, not even seeing the result of his attack. He then made his way out the Imperial Castle and to the prison in a hurried manner. Did they find out where the first prince is? This is bad. Logan Lowrit. Get out here now, and face our emperor. Logan Lowrit, you coward, get the fuck here now. Cowardly emperor, show yourself. Various degenerating cries were heard behind the northern gate of the imperial capital. The allied warriors of the two invading empires were throwing out various provocations. They didn't seem to be afraid as the two emperors of their own empires were standing behind them. Ha ha ha, it seems like we will be able to win this war without incurring many casualties. A hearty laugh sounded out. Surely, didn't we ally for this endeavor? An eerie laugh sounded out, but it almost sounded depraved. The man who heartily laughed looked fat yet strong with bulging arms. He had two luscious beauties on his thighs. He was holding their waists while flirting with them and commenting about the war. He is none other than the current emperor of the Raven Empire, Mike Raven. Is infertility holding you back? Launching 2 BHK sports-themed homes at Hiranandani in Panvel. Explore 36 BHK luxury residences with retail, clubhouse more. The other man who laughed eerily looked thin and cunning. He just provided these two beauties to the fat man, either enriching his relationship with the fat emperor or plotting something. He is none other than the emperor of the Tritor Empire, Ken Tritor. Two bastards who dared to invade my empire. Come out! An angry voice could be heard out loud as it resounded through the whole army. Ah, he is here! A middle-aged man beside Emperor Raven voiced. TCH, how can I enjoy these beauties now? His timing cannot be any worse. Emperor Raven had dissatisfaction etched on his face. Emperor Raven can enjoy these beauties later, and I'm sure these gifts will be worth your time." A voluptuous woman who was wearing revealing clothes chimed in with an alluring voice. She was beside Emperor Tritor. "Haha, you are right, my daughter-in-law." Emperor Raven laughed. The four of them simultaneously flew out and stared at Logan and his subordinates in the airspace near the northern gate. "Ha ha ha, little Emperor, you sure are powerful." Adult soul stage around 30 years old. Jijij. Both of the emperors cackled eerily, yet they were inwardly relieved that they had made this move sooner. Or else, wouldn't this treasure, known as the Lowrit Empire, be out of their sights and hands after a few years? "Greetings, allow me to introduce myself formally. I am the Emperor of the Raven Empire, Mike Raven." Emperor Raven introduced himself to the Lowrit Emperor, followed by Ken Tritor. "Ken Tritor, Emperor of the Tritor Empire." Logan looked at the two people who looked contrasting yet had the same disposition. He couldn't help but question coldly. "Aren't you ashamed of yourselves, teaming up to beat an empire which has already lost its strength during the rebellion? Shame? Can you eat it? Can you change it to cultivation resources? Stop your nonsense, little Emperor." Emperor Raven mockingly laughed. "Judge, we do possess shame, but do you think that we are supposed to attack when you are recovered and strong, naive? This is the world of the strong, and weaklings can only beg and grovel." Emperor Tritor grinned deviously. "Oh? You two think you can defeat us with this line-up? Don't think you will be safe enough to leave in one piece." Logan spat out with a cold expression on his face. "Haha, you are right. Everyone, Mike Raven, will not destroy anyone who does not help the Lowrit Emperor. In fact, I will award you with the plundered riches. How about it? Those behind him?" Emperor Raven shot a greedy look to the people behind Logan. Logan was waiting for this exact moment as well. He was not afraid but wanted to see who and all will choose to desert him in this hopeless war. But right at this moment, he and Claire felt the soul marks they left on Davis being erased, their expressions waning into despair. Chapter 26, Abducted. Logan and Claire looked at each other with apprehension in their eyes. The disappearance of the soul mark could only mean that Davis had either died or the soul mark they had placed on his soul had been erased by some method. The soul mark Logan left had been relatively gentle, not leaving an ounce of heaviness or restriction in Davis's soul. Hence, the soul mark can also be easily dealt with by any third-stage soul-forging cultivators without much trouble. Logan and Claire clearly trembled, wanting to rush to see Davis's well-being, yet now, they could only hope that Hendrickson had rescued Davis in time. There was a moment of silence before a voice sounded out. "Do you promise not to touch the Ruthless Sword Sect and Piercing Dragon Sect?" The two sect leaders who were behind Logan came forward together. "Of course, I have heard of your famous names across the continent, Sect Leader Heian and Sect Leader Pedro." "Good, then we'll sit this one out." Heian, the sect leader of Ruthless Sword Sect, accepted and withdrew. "Your Majesty, this isn't considered betrayal as we are just going to watch from the sidelines. The result doesn't concern us as we are staying out of this mess." Pedro, the sect leader of Piercing Dragon Sect, gave out some trivial reasons as he moved out of their way. Logan didn't even glance at them and was just looking at the two emperors coldly. "Anyone else? Our promise still stands, and we absolutely won't attack anyone who stays out of this war." Emperor Raven still expected some people to defect as he could see some hesitation in the two noble family heads. The two noble family heads looked like they were in deep contemplation. After a few seconds of consideration, they raised their heads and declared, "We will stand by the Lowrit Empire, hence, nothing will stand in our way to protect our empire." Pub Future adds. Not expecting the two noble family heads to reject, Emperor Raven frowned. "Ha ha ha." Logan laughed heartily. He didn't expect that this would happen, but he held hope. After all, the three families crossed the rebellion together. Emperor Raven, Do you think that those who have crossed the rebellion with me can betray the empire or me that easily? If they wanted to betray, they would have done it long ago during the rebellion. Logan indifferently said. So what? I've still got a proposal. Oh, little emperor, we both know that we don't have to harm each other. If we fight, we cannot say who might win this battle. Emperor Triter abruptly said. Hey, what is this? Are you backing out? Logan sneered. It isn't we who needs to back out, but you. Emperor Raven shot a look at Claire, who was beside Logan. What's this? Isn't the Empress pregnant? What a joyous affair! Do you want to see your wife brutally murdered and violated before you die? Emperor Triter shouted out, his voice echoing throughout the battlefield. You dare? Logan immediately tried to rush out but received a soul transmission, prompting him to a halt. Dear! Don't go! They're provoking you! Claire shouted in his mind. Her stomach was a little bloated, as a baby was forming inside her womb. Logan stopped but shot a glance filled with hatred towards these two bastard emperors. He could only swallow down this humiliation. If he went out to fight, one would hold him back while the other might do something worse to Claire. That's why I've got an idea. Why don't we play a game? We make our armies fight each other. If your side wins, then we will immediately back out of this empire. But if we win, hand over the Lowrit Empire to us. You see, we don't want to pillage this beautiful capital filled with beautiful women. Emperor Triter laughed deviously. Ads by Pub Future. Pub Future ads. Isn't the end already clear? You bastards will surely win. What is this game for? Further humiliation? Logan gritted his teeth and shouted in anger. Are you up for this game or not? The two emperors further laughed, clearly wanting to humiliate him before enjoying the looted riches. Logan gnashed his teeth so hard that blood was coming out his mouth. His eyes spewed flames of anger and hatred. If he made a move, he could say goodbye to Claire without a doubt, but if he doesn't make a move, then his army will be decimated. I thought I would be able to die proudly defending my empire. Naive, I was too naive. I couldn't give my family up. I'm a failure of an emperor. His palms were bleeding as he put so much pressure with his fingers while tightly clenching his fists. He wanted nothing more than to ruthlessly hack them to pieces, but he was powerless to do so. At this time, he received a sound transmission from Hendrickson. His face immediately turned ugly. What did you do to my son? Oh? Did the assassins I sent succeed? No worries, I will release your son if you accept the game and win. Claire became stunned for a second. No. She miserably let out a scream hearing the conversation between them. No. Am I going to lose him again? I don't want to lose him again. This isn't happening, no, 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 no. She almost started having a mental breakdown while hovering in the air. Logan grit his teeth as he wished that he could kill and slice their corpses into 10,000 pieces. He wished that he could subject them to every available torture method in this world. Your Majesty, allow me and my subordinates to leave our lives for the Empire. A voice could be heard behind him. He checked behind to see Commander Randall kneeling in front of him. When Royals ditched the dress code and went viral. Her beauty. You all will die, Logan replied, his voice heavy and sorrowful. Randall kowtowed, I know, we just request your Majesty to give us a chance to prove ourselves on the battlefield, that we aren't cowards who would run without facing our enemies. Please let us get back the honor we lost in the Alfred Kingdom. Logan became moved. He etched this scene into his heart as he turned back to look at those two emperors and unwaveringly said, I agree. Good, let's sit back and enjoy this show to our heart's content. Emperor Triter laughed as he returned towards their camp. An army of 2,500,000 soldiers marched outside the imperial capital. Raven Empire had 1 million soldiers, while the Triter Empire had about 1,500,000 soldiers. They were all cultivators, and most of them were at the first stage while some of them were at the second stage, and very few were at the third stage, most likely the captains and commanders. As for their supreme commanders, perhaps they were at the fourth stage. Soldiers mostly trained in essence gathering cultivation and secondly in body tempering cultivation. Hence, their soul forging cultivation could be said to be pretty much non-existent or extremely weak. Soul forging cultivation manuals were a luxury, and perhaps over 95% of the population in the Grand Sea continent does not have access to it. Hence, the road to training in soul forging cultivation required status, wealth, talent, and luck. Looking at their lineup, most people of the Lorid Empire realized that their enemies probably conducted a mass recruiting in their empires to invade their empire, but no one knew if this matter was true or not. The soldiers of the Raven Empire were clad in black armor while the Tritor Empire's soldiers were clad in reddish-gray armor. An army of 1 million soldiers stood outside the gates of the imperial capital. They were the soldiers of the Lorid Empire. They were clad in blue armor, and their presence on the battlefield was imposing and heavy, but their counterpart released a heavier presence and pressure at them, rendering their courage and battle experience almost useless. The Lorid Empire's army lineup was the same as the invading empire, only having experts up to the third stage when excluding the Supreme Army Commander, Randall. A war filled with cultivators wasn't like a mortal's war. Whoever possessed the greatest fist ends up winning, but the Lorid Empire seemed to have only one such individual while the other two empires possessed many. Ho ho, this is pretty pitiable, why don't we add something into the fray? Emperor Raven shook his head and laughed. You are right, Jijij. Little Emperor, you can call people from the imperial capital to fight for you. Anyone below the third stage is welcome. Emperor Tritor added fuel to the flames. Logan had an ugly expression on his face. Involving the people of the empire was forbidden as the morale would drop, and even his own people might defect. Not only would he become a laughing stock, but all the other empires might besmirch him at the same time. Logan's pupils trembled as he could see that this war is utterly hopeless.